Hey, hello, Steve. How are you?
All right. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom and Chag Sameach. Yeah,
That's right.
in 2 days we're gonna celebrating the Passover. Or what most of the Christians in the world know that by the Last Supper of
Right.
Jesus. So
Right.
they, when Jesus gathering with his 12 disciple, the first purpose of it, it's not to tell him what he think about it, as we know. Is the first purpose is to tell and to repeat. Then God save us, release us from Egypt, from slavery to be
Right.
free. And the parasha is talking so much about the altars and the regulations and the law. And with you, I'm gonna try to figure it out what what is it? Why there is so many details that God very um, go into the small details. Why it's so important.
I'm going to go back a little bit before we get to here. Um, in celebrating the Passover, to me, it's really mind-blowing that at this point in time, the death angel has passed over, and then they get to leave Egypt. And then I guess fast forward now, Yeshua's with his disciples saying, "Hey, look, I'm trying to get you all to remember this, and it's important to remember this." And now in the Parsha, they've got all these rules or commandments or orders or what to remember all this, to put all this in place to say, "Hey, this is what happened, and I want you to remember this for all time."
Uh-huh. And I see in the parashat so many other things. Like just yesterday, the people of Israel was totally slave. And I think we spoke about it. What does it mean to be slave? To be slave
Right.
is you have no time. The time is not belong to you. Think
That
about
is
it.
true.
An animal have no times. They don't know that today it's a Friday. What's the difference between today and yesterday or tomorrow for the animals?
Yeah,
It's the same things with the for the slaves. What's the difference? You're walking, and you're walking. The time not belong to you; it belong to your owner. And
that's right.
yeah, and you starting to think like a slave. So it's not you; it's generations of generations and educations of young babies to be a slave, like to serve. So you cannot think like a other uh, a free um, a person. And then God releasing them, and they went to the desert. Let's try to imagine how desert it's look. Emptiness, wilderness, nothing, barely water you could find it. It's so
Right.
quiet. I don't know when the last time you have been in a desert.
It's been probably about 4 years ago.
In Israel or in America?
That neither one. It was in Mexico.
Mexico. Isn't it? It's so quiet over there.
It was very, 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 very hot.
That's sure. Depends which season you're staying over there. But it's very quiet. You could hear
And yet, like I
from
said, just
distance
nothing.
nothing. And if we could talk a little bit about the desert, it's like amazing things. There is a saying that God said to Moses, be like a desert, I'm like a desert. What does it mean to being like a desert? To being like a desert, it's kind of being very simple, not like mountains of Colorado or Switzerland. They are like forest and snow and stream water, and everything is like life over there, so much life. And uh, desert, it's like nothing. It's so simple. It's like yellow, but a desert, it's so powerful.
Yes.
You don't want to miss with the desert when you decide to cross the desert, especially in the summertime, because it could kill you. You have to be very respectful for that lane. And to be like a desert, it's like that. To be humble, but to be very powerful, man. Like
And
confidence. Yeah,
stick to the very specific rules on how to survive.
yeah. And in a parasha, it's amazing things. Then God gave all the orders to Moses to talk with the people of Israel and to tell him what sacrifice and every sacrifice and what is the purpose of every sacrifice it should be. And if someone stole to someone something, he need to return that, and in the time, and even to pay even more for that. And all the ceremony in the altar, he go for details. So it's
Yes.
amazing things. Yeah, that's amazing things how he's going to the details. And now we could see how a nation starting, or the beginning of having a birth of a nation. You know, um, Imagine then if you could be with the first founders of the America,
Hmm.
just like sit with George Washington and all the leaders, and having some conversation with them, you know, and they have an idea to build a new nation.
Right.
And to build a new nations, you need something then in common. But it's not
Right.
easy to find something in common. And that's amazing things how one day a man wake up in the morning, he feel like as he's a nation, and he's starting to walk through it. That just like that. You know how it's like one morning you feel like a nation,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. And I think the Israelis, in the beginning or in the middle of building our identity of Israelis. What is mean being Israelis? It's not necessary to be Jewish. You could be Christians, you could be Muslim, but you're speaking Hebrew. You're eating falafel. You're eating shawarma. You're listening to Israeli music, which is a Hebrew music. It's like to be American. What does it mean to be American? Hamburger, or I don't know, sausage, and
Baseball, football,
baseball, football, beer, and American songs. English. That's very, and that's like making you American. Not necessary if you believe in if you're a Christian or Muslim or Jewish. It doesn't make you American, but that's make you American. To being a Jewish, it's to following after a God. You have a name. To be a
right.
Christian or to be Messianic Jewish is to be a Jewish, but to following after Yeshua. And here it's like amazing things, and we're starting to build our nations. And one of the things that is caught me on the parasha, I'm gonna read it to you and think
But
about
before
it. Then,
but
like,
before we do, what is the name of the parsha? We'll start with there.
oh,
How's that?
let's start with that. That's even better. The name of the parasha, it's Tzav. Okay,
Tzav.
Tzav. It's two meaning in Hebrew. Depends how you write it. How you Tzav, which is Tzadik Bet. It could be turtle. But Tzav with Vav, okay, it sounds the same exactly things. It could be order, or like you commanding someone to do.
Right. Right.
Okay, when the war start, most of the Israeli get at Tzav 8. we name it with number. But what is mean Tzav? You got to order to show and to come to the military, and,
Right.
and you have to do that. It's like commended. And
Right.
one of the things that like got me after all the instructions how to do uh, uh, the how to give an offering. It's one of the things that God said in Leviticus 6, verse 13. The fire must be kept burning on the altar continuously.
Yes.
It must not go out.
Go out. Absolute.
Think
Yes.
about that. Our faith in Yeshua, our faith in the Lord of God, is always have to be, sometime in a low flame and sometime in a high flame. But the flame you always have to be forever, endure forever. Without the flame of without the fire of the faith, we're gonna get lost. Think about it. You
Yes.
cannot have a faith this week and next week you're gonna say, I'm taking a rest of my faith. I don't want it. It's not work like that. You have
Right.
to continuously your faith like the fire.
And
Yeah.
I'll go a little bit deeper with that. How's
Okay.
that? Same thing. And and here's where we get the word commanded, tzav,
So
to remove those ashes from that altar every morning. The priests were commanded to remove those ashes and take them to a clean place. And what that's saying is, you've offered your sacrifice today, and then at the end of the day or in the next morning, they remove those ashes. So it's clean, it's fresh, it's new. So our faith is renewed every day, and the old ashes are taken away every morning.
I like what you said, and you know what it come to my mind. It's like you said every morning, but how many times we said first things in the morning, what you need to do, that and that and that. That's the first things in the morning before you starting anything. You have to take the ashes out of the altar and put it in some other place, like to make the altar clean for the next sacrifice. And that's
Yes,
the first thing in the morning. And
yes,
and when you say to someone, okay, first things in the morning, I will do that and that and that. That's what it means. It's like kind of a sacred, holy.
yes,
Yeah. And yeah, most of the parasha, I could say it's a order and all kind of procedures about the ceremony. Sometimes we're reading that and we goes like, what for? But no, when you have something to do, when you have a order in a ceremony, and it's like repeating themselves every day, you have something to wake up in the morning and to do something. And think about it,
right.
especially when you're staying in a desert, which has nothing to do over there, actually. There's not a lot to do over there.
Yes,
It's not to live in New York or Los Angeles or, I don't know, San Francisco. Like you're always busy, you always have something to do, so many people. No, you're alone over there.
that's right.
And
That's it.
another things, Steve, if I will ask you, what is the time right now? You
What
know?
is the time?
Yeah,
Here
yeah,
in the morning.
yeah. What is the time exactly?
It's 8:23.
How you know that? I saw you. You just give a look to your computer, and that's it. And if not, you have that. If not, you have that. The people in the desert didn't know what is the time.
That's true.
Nobody knows. They know sunrise, sunset, winter, summer. But what is the exact time right now? But to do the sacrifices in the morning when the smoke going up to the sky, everybody know this is the time. Just like, for instance, 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. Okay, so they're starting to measure the time. And in the
Yes.
evening, the same things. You could see the tent of meeting. The smoke going up. Oh, you say to yourself, oh, it's like the second time. It's the evening time. It's like, let's say, the 5 o'clock. And
Right.
then I want to ask you, what's the difference between Sunday and Monday? We don't see any different. It's the same sunset, sun in the sky, and the moon in the evening. It's the same exactly things. How we know the differences in Shabbat, which is Sabbath, we have
Right.
4 time sacrificial. Now you're seeing the smoke going up, and you say to
Right.
yourself, "Oh, Shabbat today." How many times we said, "What is the day today?" And we have
Wow.
everything around us to know what is the day today, and we like, you know, think about the desert time. Think about then there is not much to do. What rather,
Ah,
to go with the flock to the
that's true.
yeah.
And that reminds me of another desert thing. This is my thinking that the reason that he brought him through the desert is because there's no distractions in the desert. Can you imagine trying to give uh, a whole group of people instructions in, say, a downtown city with all the lights and the distractions? But in the desert, there's no distractions. It's just,
Yeah, and distractions. If you're talking about distractions, we have the telephone. How many times in the day is distracting us? We have that digital
yeah,
watch, yeah, to distracting us, and we have so many other things around us. You in the desert, it's so quiet, as I said. You cannot hear any background of the city or any kind of things. You totally connecting with God. You totally
yes,
could hear him, talking to you, and that's amazing things. And we know from now on the people will be 40 years in the desert, and maybe the purpose of that is to get rid of the first generation, which was really hard to deal with because they
yeah,
thought like slaves. And we need the next generations to think differently from their parents. And
yes, yeah.
yeah,
And I want to go back to the altar of the where they sacrifice the animals and what that's actually called. In English, we call it korban or
in Hebrew, you call korban.
korban, or
Yeah,
the English pronunciation, I should say.
yeah, the English pronunciations, yes.
And what is that and what does it entail? Because we went over how you renew the ashes every morning, but what is actually the sacrifice and the purpose for it, the command of it?
Yeah,
And it was if you did something against God's law, then you had to offer us like a sin offering or a transgression or trespass offering. What it was it wasn't because God was trying to be a mean God. It was because he was saying, hey, this is going to atone for that sin to bring you back to me. It was
and
the
to
whole
and to
purpose.
recognize that you did some mistake.
Yes.
How many times people doing something wrong and they didn't even feel like what?
Yeah.
I'm okay. I did everything is okay. What's wrong with that? By knowing that you did something wrong, it's make you to think and to correct yourself.
Yes. And
And
then the same thing happened once you get that relationship to God and that you did something where you want to better yourself, then you do the same thing person to person. If I offend you or whatever, how do I make that connection back right? Like, and there was offerings or whatever for that as well. So the same way we make ourselves closer to God is the same way we're supposed to make ourselves closer to each other.
Yeah. And um, remember, then we spoke about that. Then when Jesus spoke to his uh, disciple, to his people, he was assumed that they know a big things or big portions for what he's saying. So that's why he didn't go for a details. For instance, when I see how God go to the details in that parasha, and I versed it to what Jesus did the ceremony on the mount. Yeah, I said it's okay. Yeah,
Sermon on the Mount, yeah.
it's much more shorter. He didn't go for details of it. And I was wondering why it's like that. So I have my interpretation for that. We always learning how to drive, and we're learning the
Mhm.
law. We're starting to learn the theory, of the sign.
Right.
So we went from sign to sign, and we learn everything. What that sign means, what is a stop sign, what is no enter, what is like turn, or all kind of things like that. And that's what God right now doing with the people of Israel, teaching them the theory of the law. Later on, when you know everything, and I'm talking with you about how to drive, I don't need to tell you don't pass in a double line because it's dangerous, okay? Or stop in a stop sign because if not, you could you could make an accident and it's dangerous to your life. And that's exactly what Jesus did in a ceremony on the mount when he just like gave like, if I'm not mistaken, it's like 8 sentences,
Right.
isn't it? Eight, yeah,
8 or 10, yeah,
eight
yeah.
or ten. I'm not sure about it, but every sentence it means so much, and you have to know so much about it to order to understand it. For instance, if I will say that ceremony of the mount to someone that have no knowledge, know anything about the God law and what all that things mean to him, he's not going to understand really what Jesus means, you know. So it's that's how I compare that to when God starting from the very beginning, and when Jesus just like was teaching the people and remind them what it's very very important to do, and he was assumed and they have the background of all the traditions and all the law,
Right.
yeah.
Right. And
Hmm.
and I see he was incorporating something completely important to us now, that you have these commands, these rules, these regulations, whatever you want to call them. But he was trying to also show them, look, these aren't just commands. These are it's not something that you should do. It's something that you should want to do. You got to, I'm showing you this so you can put your heart into it and not just be a mechanical robot going through the motions.
Yeah, yeah. I think he said it in a book of Exodus when Shema Israel Adonai Eloheinu, love your God with all your heart, with all your mind,
Yes.
and that's all about. It's don't just like show from outside to the people. Do that from inside to outside.
Right.
I think if I could quote something of Jesus, then he talk about it. Um, I, I remember then Jesus said to the people, then it's not what you're eating, which is a kosher or not kosher, and go you know where after. It's what is coming out of your mouth and it's going outside.
Right.
So don't play a kosher guy by doing all the mitzvah, all the commandment without the purpose of it, without the faith of it, because it's
Right.
technically you're doing things, but
Right.
it's not coming from your heart. And
exactly.
I think God talk about it a lot, So
And, and and I heard one of a pastor tell me a long time ago, and this was the attitude um, about going to church per se. He says, "Well, a lot of people say I have to go to church," and he said that don't say I have
yeah.
to, say I get to,
No, I want to, and I
or I
love
want
to.
to.
Oh, yeah, I want to be. Yeah, a lot of people coming and making a check mark, like, oh, I've been there, I was there, and now it's a beginning of the week. I could make a new scene
Right.
until Sunday, which is, I hope is going to delete all my sin during the last week. No, it's not work like that. Same things with the Jewish people. Believe me, we are very similar. They're going to a synagogue just to kind of purify themselves from the last sin, and they like keep returning and doing that
Mhm.
over and over. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to stop when you know that you did something wrong and to correct yourself and to make
Exactly.
repentance. That's the whole about. Yeah. And I think Yeshua spoke about it so much with his people. Trying to let him understand it deeply. Yeah. And I think we spoke about it last parasha, the beginning of the parasha. Then I said I don't know where exactly which parsha is it, but during that book of Leviticus, which is called, we call this a Vaikra in
Like,
Hebrew, we have the most famous sentence that everybody knows, and Jesus said it: "Love your neighbors as you love yourself." You know,
right,
and that's everything. That's like summarize all the law of God. Before you coming to me, before you keeping all the law, love your neighbors as you love
right,
yourself. Yeah,
right. And that's this Parsha actually has part in it, part of the sacrifices to if you have something against your brother or whatever, that here's the sacrifice you do, here's the procedure for it, and so on.
yeah, yeah. Well, the Zoom remind us then our time starting to go out, and it's always amazing.
Already?
Yeah, it's really, really, yeah, we are like almost like 35 minutes in it. And isn't it just past just like that? And I have to tell you something personally, Steve. It's amazing how every parashat and we're doing together, I feel like more and more coming and know you and coming close to you. And it's always passing very fast because we have so much to
Yeah.
say and but we don't want to make it long. We want to make it
Right.
short and to reveal it to other people. And I think next parasha it will be nice if we're gonna bring another people that want to enjoy with us and hearing their opinion. And
Okay.
we're gonna work on it. So
All right. We'll
yeah,
try and invite people more in and have
invite
it
people.
live.
Yeah,
Because the whole goal is the way you and I are learning from each other now, let's incorporate it so that everybody else can experience the same thing.
yeah, yeah. So until the next week, I'm gonna wish you happy Easter and Passover. And tomorrow night we're gonna celebrate the Seder. We're gonna drink the wine. So I'm gonna do lechaim with you.
Okay.
Lechaim means cheers. Yeah. So lechaim to life. And we're going to remember what a great things that God did to the people when He took them out of the land of Egypt to the
And
land that we have here. Yeah.
I'll give a quick shameless plug.
Okay.
If anybody watching this has never experienced a Seder, please go. You will learn a whole lot. And
Wow.
it is so emotional. It is so educational. It is so it opens your eyes to a whole new level of things. So if you've never gone, find one, go to one, and it'll be amazing.
Hallelujah. Okay, my friend, we got to go and wish you the best. And it's also Shabbat now. So
Yes,
Shabbat,
it is.
and
Shabbat
every,
Shalom.
yeah, Shabbat Shalom and happy Passover.
Yes, thank you. Love you, brother.
Love you, my friend. Bye bye.